And Miles Davis was not just in a theory paradigm when he played. Yeah, sure, he knew his theory, but that wasn't the end game for him. He was not a theory nerd for the sake of being a theory nerd. He was an innovator. If I can just get you to step away from theory and into the world of different textures and colours that you can explore on the instrument, that would be a great starting point for you. So let's just run through the chords in a very basic way. Hello, it's Tom Donald from the London Contemporary School of Piano. Today I want to show you the chords to a beautiful, beautiful jazz piece. This is the Blue in Green Chords Walkthrough. Blue in Green. This piece is from the iconic Miles Davis album, Kind of Blue, and it was composed by Bill Evans. This piece of music is purely magical, and it really is the pinnacle, I think, of Bill Evans' collaboration with Miles Davis. Today I really want to focus on the chords and the harmony, but the texture of the piece. There is ample material out there with chord theory. There's tons and tons and tons of chord theory out there. In fact, I think there's too much. I think many of you, the chord theory is getting in the way of you actually getting a tangible result in your piano playing, by the way. So I want to focus on a slightly different way of thinking with this piece as a great example. And I want you to think about something that isn't just specifically related to chords. I want you to think about texture and the concept of musical texture and sound colour. Thinking of music in a visual way and in a textural way. So let's keep that concept up the front of our mind with today's tutorial, because the last thing you need is more theory shoved down your throat. And many of you jazz nerds are a bit too addicted to theory. And by the way, it's not helping your jazz playing at all. Just some tough love there, by the way. So this piece is just such a great example of what you can do with texture in your playing. You know, think of great players like Ahmad Jamal or Keith Jarrett and what it is they do with their playing. They're not just in a theory paradigm. And Miles Davis was not just in a theory paradigm when he played. Yeah, sure, he knew his theory, but that wasn't the end game for him. He was not a theory nerd for the sake of being a theory nerd. He was an innovator. If I can just get you to step away from theory and into the world of different textures and colours that you can explore on the instrument, that would be a great starting point for you. So let's just run through the chords in a very basic way. I was playing it in a very straightforward way. I was just focusing on getting a nice starting point with the chords. And you notice I played that structure twice there. And some of you might have even got lost. Well, where was Tom up to there? There's a reason for that. This is a really special piece of music. It's a 10-bar structure. And there's something about the 10 bars in this structure that makes the repetitions every time that structure is repeated. It sounds circular rather than linear. So it just sounds like there's no start and end point when you go around that structure. It's really a very magical chord progression for that reason. So just to break down the chords before we start exploring texture, we've got G minor 7, or G minor 6, we can put the 7th and the 6th together. I'm just going to talk about the chords in a basic, plain way, as in minor 7, major 7, dominant 7, and so on. G minor 7, A7, D minor 7, D flat 7, C minor 7, C7, B flat major 7, A7, D minor 7, E7. I have put a sharpened ninth in that, but I'm just talking about it in a basic way. A minor 7, D minor 7, and then we keep looping it around, and you get that lovely loop. So, yes, and of course there's lots of extra dissonance in some of those chords. You can turn 7s into ninths, you can turn ninths into 11ths, and of course some of the chords you can add wonderful effects such as the sharpened ninth. By the way, any of you who do struggle with sharpened ninths, just a good way to think about them is think of it as combining major and minor at the same time, simultaneously. So you've got E major, E minor, then you put a 7th in there to glue it together, and that's really the ingredients behind a sharpened ninth. Pretty cool, hey? So texture. Let's get away from chord nerdery now and into the world of texture. So firstly, we can get these chords and we can sweep them across the piano into different registers. So just a nice little step forward you could take is just playing the chords in different octaves. Just all of a sudden opens things up. You're just out of this closed world of everything having to be closed voicing. Not all jazz is like that. You can expand a little bit. And yeah, you can then go a little bit further. Here's another nice practice technique with these chords where we start to distort them a little bit and explore them. So where we start to play around with extreme voicings on the piano, where we use either lots of high notes and low notes, but nothing in the middle. So I'm going to do a reduction of the chord harmonies in just two notes per chord, in the high register of the piano and the low register of the piano. Nothing in the middle. And let's see how that progression holds together. I'll do that again, try some different ways of doing that. I was playing the lowest note on the piano there. If any of you have spent a fortune buying a good grand piano in your home, are you getting all your value for your money, right? Are you playing all of the keys on the piano? That's just a thought there. To the E7, sharp 9. Yeah, so that's one exercise. Now, that's very sparse. Yes, sparse is good. You don't have to be addicted to all these crunchy harmonies in the middle of the piano all day. So let's now try two voices or three voices in the right hand and two voices in the left hand. Now, close voicing in the left hand won't, because it'll be muddy, so I'll use 7ths and 9ths and 10ths, maybe the occasional octave. Let's see. Let's experiment. And again. Okay, now I'm going to really push the limits a bit. I'm going to really play with different colours and textures with these chords. And I'm not really going to think about what I'm doing. I'm going to try and go into some sort of Keith Jarrett-like mode now, where I just really feel where the music is going to take me. Before I go further, let me just tell you some of the things that are happening to me now as I play, is the harmony is drawing me in, rather than me analysing the harmony and having this transactional academic relationship with the harmony, which, by the way, so many of you I've noticed have that. You can see it by the way you converse with music. When you start to really draw yourself into the chords and see where they take you, one thing that started happening to me, and this happens often when you get into the zone, I started doing some things I hadn't planned. Like I started playing repeated sort of tremolo-like notes and shaking notes together. So that's a nice texture effect. Adding trills to it. Some of you are like, I came here for a walk through Bill Evans' Blue and Green. Yes, that's right. We're not trying to copy the original recording here. It's not how jazz operates. Yes, you can transcribe solos and study them all day, but if you want to have something to say of your own that's authentic and really at the same time honouring the progression of the music, this is such a useful, holistic way to look at it. And texture will bring so much more to your playing. I might try a more arpeggiated approach now. And the amazing thing about this piece is the coda is the first three chords. G minor, 7, A7, and then D minor. So some resources to help you build these bridges and gaps in your playing. I do have a course that could really take you to that next level. It's called the 30-Day Jazz Musician Course. And if you visit our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, and inquire about this course, the 30-Day Jazz Musician, what I aim to do in this course is to distill down the most critical theoretical elements of jazz, discard the rest, distill the most critical ones, to get you onto that mindset change and path of creativity sooner. And in this course, there's lots of backing tracks and extra resources provided to sort of help stimulate your musical creativity. So that might be something you're interested in. And if you'd like to hear more of my musical texture journeys and experiments, you might want to head on over to my Bandcamp or Spotify or Apple Music and listen to a concert I did a bit of a while ago called the Earling Concert, which is a long improvisation into the journey of piano texture. And just in case this has inspired you today to try different things with your playing, you can check out the Earling Concert that I did by yours truly. It's on Apple Music, Spotify, or if you'd like to purchase it, it's also on Bandcamp. It's been lovely speaking with you today and playing such a beautiful piece of music. And it's a piece of music you can all put your own stamp on with these simple chords. Well, they seem simple. They have simple elements to them, but when you add a few extra flavors and try different things with them, you can really start making music on your own terms and in your own way. Thank you very much.